what evil lurks in the hearts of men, the Shadow knows.
Hey, welcome to another edition of Flea Market Fantasy, the world's second greatest Bronze Age era comic book podcast. Joining me, as always, is new Mike L, Kevin Jank.
Hey, Bob, or Bob. I'm here.
I don't know what that means. What does that even mean?
It's a sleepaway camp reference.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Right, fair enough. But we're not doing a sleepaway camp comic tonight, Jank. It was your choice.
No.
Tell the kids what you picked.
So I picked The Shadow. The classic old school character that had kind of been brought into a modern audience in the 80s with the DC Comics version.
Yes. In what issue did you pick?
In issue number 3.
And this is from 1987. I had no idea The Shadow was even a comic book in the 1980s. Were you aware of this all along, or is this something recently you discovered?
I guess I knew that The Shadow pops up here and there all over the place. Like, I think a lot of people have had the license. Dark Horse had it at some point. It's one of those things that's always kind of around, in one form or another. I think I always knew that I had to eventually look into The Shadow just because, his catchphrase was quoted on an episode of Clerks, the animated series. So I was like, well, someday I need to look into the Shadow guy.
Good Lord. That's how you know about The Shadow.
Yep.
All right. The way I know about The Shadow is from his radio show. But we'll get into all that. I'll give you the history of the character here. But this...
Yeah, I may listen to one of those this week.
Oh, nice. But what we're dealing with today in the comic book harkens back to the old Pulp Fiction days of The Shadow. The radio show character is nothing like this guy. Like, very little in common with this guy that we're reading today.
Yes.
So,
yeah, I would say that's true.
Yeah. And my only history is with the radio guy, so... But here's the whole history.
Did a little bit of research this week and watched the movie for the first time.
The movie with
Alec Baldwin.
Alec Baldwin, that's right. I was saying Jack Donaghy, but it's Alec Baldwin. Yeah. I heard the movie stunk.
Yeah, it's not good.
All right. I think that came around 94, 93, 94, something like that.
94, yeah. But it had Tim Curry in it, so that's always good. Anytime you get a Tim Curry appearance. Oh, get out of here.
Not so much. But The Shadow was created by Walter B. Gibson in the magazine publisher Street and Smith. He actually made his debut on July 31st, 1930 as a mysterious radio show narrator for the Detective Story Hour. And that was a radio show created to promote Street and Smith's Detective Story magazine. So he would just narrate the episodes. But he proved so popular that the Shadow magazine came out, which was first published on April 1st, 1931. And that's where we get the actual character of the Shadow.
Oh, so he was kind of like the Whistler at first.
Very much so, yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably why they did the Whistler, because the Shadow was you know what I mean? They probably copied it off the Shadow. So Walter B. Gibson, under the pen name Maxwell Grant, wrote 282 of 325 Shadow tales over the next 20 years. So, in the Shadow magazine. And basically, he was writing a novel-length story twice a month. Because the magazine came out on the 1st and the 15th of every month, and he would have like a novel-length story in there, 60,000 words about. So, he was writing like 10,000 words a day. This guy's a fucking maniac.
He would have finished like 20 monkey books by now.
Yeah, I'm only halfway through with my monkey book. He was writing 2 books a month.
Jesus.
The Shadow radio drama premiered on September 26, 1937. I really only know the episodes with Orson Welles. He played the Shadow from 1937 to October of 1938. So,
if that's what you're gonna listen to something, go for the big names.
Yeah, Orson Welles. And although he never said the little catchphrase at the beginning of the show, that was another fella who then came in and did the show after that. But that era of the Shadow radio show was always sponsored by Blue Coal.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll play their advertisement here during the show at some point.
I heard one of those this week. Yeah.
Yeah.
Burns longer than regular coal.
But
Thanks to I don't even know what they said. They said something weird like, yeah, their prepping techniques are what makes this blue coal. But like, how?
Yeah.
Coal is made by like pressing, like fucking
I don't know
by the
how they
mine. Just dig up coal. How does your prep time affect what color it is and how fast it burns?
I think that same technology was used in Blueberry cereal later on, many years later. But yeah, it's like coal, but it's blue.
In just a moment, the Shadow's exciting adventure will begin. Meanwhile, I have an important message for all you homeowners. We are now in the midst of the most treacherous season of the entire year. But you can protect your family's health during this danger period by burning blue coal. For blue coal gives you clean, uniform, healthful heat all winter long. And its harmless blue coloring is your guarantee of better heat at less cost. So when you order fuel, insist on blue coal. It's Pennsylvania's finest anthracite. Your nearest blue coal dealer will be glad to send you a trial ton. Phone him tomorrow.
Yeah, the big catchphrase you said that the Shadow always said, do you know it by heart at the beginning of the show?
Which one is at the beginning of the show? Because he's kind of got two, doesn't he?
Yeah. Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men? The Shadow knows.
Yeah.
That's the big one. And then at the end of the show...
The other one is the one I like, the one that was on the Clerks episode.
Well, go ahead and say that one.
Basically, well, I'll tell you how they used it in the show. It was an episode where Dante and Randall got locked in the freezer and were basically having flashbacks to, old things that happened to them. That old gimmick. And they see this old woman come to the freezer to get a soda and like she sees nobody's around and starts stealing shit. So Randall yells at her, "The weed of crime bears bitter fruit, you old hag."
Yeah.
And then they remember the time he said that to his prom date.
Yeah. Cut off the old hag part, and you have the old line from the Shadow. The weed of crime bears bitter fruit. Crime does not pay. The Shadow knows.
Yeah.
That's how he ended every episode, or at least the majority of episodes. There was a slightly different line early on, but whatever.
I like it.
Yeah, it is a good line.
Poetic.
They used it in this comic book as well.
Yeah. That's why I wanted to pick this one. I'm like, oh, I saw that in there.
In the pulp stories, the Shadow, his real name was Ken Allard, Allard. And I believe that's the fellow we're dealing with here today. Did they ever say his name in this book? But I'm guessing it's Ken Allard.
Not in this one. I did notice, I was flipping through and I thought they mentioned Lamont Cranston in the second one, but I think they even say that was an alias he was going by. So I think it is Ken Allard.
Yeah, because in the pulp stories, he was Ken Allard, a famed aviator who fought for the French in World War I and was known as the Black Eagle. After the war, Allard faked his death and moved to New York to fight crime as the Shadow. And he dressed in a wide-brimmed black hat, a normal business suit, and a crimson-lined black cloak with an upturned collar. He also carried 2 Colt 45s and was a really violent dude. Like, he would just murder people. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We got a little taste of that here.
So, in those original stories, Lamont Cranston was a fella. And he was a rich playboy about town kind of guy in New York, but he often traveled the world and would be out of the country for, months at a time. So when he was gone, Ken Allard would use his identity as his own. Like, he was his alter ego. It's kind of like if Superman and Clark Kent, but Clark Kent was a real dude.
Yep.
And he went, so that's kind of what he did. Because apparently they looked similar. And at some point, I guess he threatened Cranston. He says, "Hey, I'm just going to use your identity while you're out of town. Cool?" And he's like, "Yeah, cool." So
what is the benefit of that though?
Like, he can move about. Yeah, I don't know. Because when Cranston's in town, I guess, like, he stays at his house. But then what happens when Cranston is in the country? He has to go.
Yeah, he's got to go somewhere. I don't know. Like, if I could see if Lamont Cranston, maybe he gets in, he's a rich guy, he gets in some doors that, Ken Allard couldn't necessarily get into. I guess that could be the benefit.
Yeah. That would make sense. But it seems from a writing standpoint. Well, I guess they wanted to have him be this aviator who fakes his death, but like, how can we still have, like, they wanted Batman and Bruce Wayne, but how can we have Bruce Wayne if he fakes his death?
Yeah.
Oh, well, he just finds a Bruce Wayne. And by the way, Batman just ripped off everything from the Shadow.
There are a lot of similarities.
Yeah.
Although Shadow loves guns, though. Apparently.
Yeah, that's true. Superman ripped off Doc Savage. Also, Batman ripped off Doc Savage. By the way, the guy who wrote
the best of everyone, so you should just love him.
Batman stinks. But the guy who wrote Doc Savage, Lester Dent, he also filled in for Gibson sometimes, right in the shadow. So,
okay,
how about that?
That makes sense.
But anyway, getting back to Lamont Cranston. So Ken Laird would take his identity and whatever. There's also another guy whose identity he used too, but it's mostly Lamont Cranston. All right, yeah. But you can understand how that's very confusing. So when the radio drama people came in and they said, why the fuck did you set this up like this? This is a terrible way to do this. So they just said, you know what, we're going to forget this Ken Laird crap. The Shadow is now Lamont Cranston.
Yep.
That's the Shadow. And
he just is what he is.
And they gave him like superpowers, not superpowers, but they said when Lamont Cranston was a young man, he went to the Orient and he studied all these mystical arts. So he's a master of hypnotism and he can read men's minds and he can play tricks on you. So, he can be in the room with you, but you can't see him.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah. So that's why the Shadow knows and he starts laughing real maniacally and stuff. And so he would just torment criminals. And like he would just like they'd think they're going crazy, like I can't get away from the Shadow, you know.
Yeah. I think he could project his voice like into their heads somewhat.
Yeah, he did all kind of things with the mind, whatever.
Yeah,
but it's all
like
because
low-level telepath stuff.
He studied these mystical arts, though.
Yeah, like Shambhala or something, I believe it was.
Yeah, something like that. So the Pope guy didn't do that kind of stuff. He had a bunch of little tricks he would play to make people think he had magical powers, but he didn't really do the mystical art kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so at least to the best of my knowledge. So these characters are really quite different. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The movie version, I guess, is a little bit more similar to the radio version. They mention his war history very briefly in like one line, but the thing opens up. He's in the Orient, probably in like the Himalayas somewhere. He seems to be running an opium den of some kind.
Oh, wow.
Like he's murdering guys. Like he's very just addicted to drugs. Like he's not a good dude. But then like this, basically the Ancient One shows up and is like, hey, I'm going to train you. I'm like, why would you pick this guy? That's not a good dude.
That opium addicted murderer. I want to train you to be a hero. So in the radio show, the Shadow didn't wear a getup or anything, because he didn't have to.
Really?
No one could see him.
Radio.
Obviously because it's radio. But no one could see him. The whole thing was he was invisible. So,
oh, sure.
Yeah, he didn't need a disguise.
Well, I mean, that's a lot of work, though, to make yourself invisible even when you're just walking down the street. Like,
well, no.
Wherever you want to get to.
Oh, I guess what you're saying.
Yeah, when you're commuting to your next perp.
I suppose. But anyway, so the whole wide brimmed hat and black cloak and everything, that was never really played up on the radio show because he didn't really use it. But also the red crimson scarf.
Should have. I mean, it's not even that much of a disguise. It's just like a coat and a hat and a scarf. Like, that's not that unusual. Not like he's wearing a Superman costume.
And then later years, he added the red scarf around his face too.
Yeah, that's good look.
Yeah, it's a good signature look.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So also in the radio show, he had a girlfriend named Margot Lane.
Yeah,
she was a socialite. Yeah, Margot Lane.
At least the last name.
In the early days with Orson Welles, there Agnes Moorehead played Margot Lane a few times.
Oh wow!
Yeah, see, it all ties together. The old RKO Theater and Citizen Kane, and it all ties together. All right, so comic book history here of the Shadow.
Yeah.
Street and Smith actually produced a comic book, Shadow Comics, in March of 1940 through September of 1949. That lasted for 101 issues. Then Archie Comics picked it up, and they ran 8 issues of the Shadow from August of 64 to September of 65. Then DC Comics came in November of 1973, and they ran the Shadow for 12 issues. That lasted until September of 1975.
Really lasted long there.
Then in August of 86, the Shadow Blood and Judgment was a 4-issue limited series produced by DC. And that series brought the Shadow to modern era New York City. And I guess that proved popular enough that it got its own series, and that's what we're reading here today. And this series lasted for 19 issues in 2 annuals from August of 87 to January of 1989. But it got canceled because the owner of the Shadow character at the time was Condé Nast. Condé Nast. Now, I meant to look up exactly what they are because you always hear Condé Nast. I guess it's a conglomerate corporation kind of deal. But I forgot to look it up.
Never heard of them.
Oh, you never heard of them? Yeah,
No.
yeah. They're kind of popular. But they own the rights to the character, and they said, hey, you know what? We don't like the tone of this book. And after reading this issue, I can see why they would be upset.
Yeah. It's definitely a different take on the character, I would say.
It's very, very dark and
very
very
it's like
morbid.
The Dark Knight Returns of Shadow stories.
Yeah. So I can completely understand that decision.
Yeah.
So then the Shadow came back in September of 89 through May of 92 with the Shadow Strikes. And that lasted 31 issues in one annual. Then we had the Batman in the Shadow, the Murder Geniuses 1 through 6 in 2017.
Murder Geniuses.
Co-published with Dynamite Entertainment.
Oh, look at that.
Dynamite. You mentioned Dark Horse Comics. Yes, Dark Horse Comics had the rights in 1993. The Shadow and the Coils of Leviathan, 1 through 4. Then the Shadow movie adaptation, 1 and 2 in 1994. How about that?
There's so much movie they had to put it in 2 volumes.
Then you had the Shadow Hell's Heatwave, 1 through 3 in 1995. And then I should check this one out. The Shadow and Doc Savage, 1 and 2 in 1995.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Seems right up my alley.
Sure does.
So there's good. There's been some other Shadows, I think. But
sure.
Like Dynamite Entertainment.
Just giving it to everybody who'll take him.
Yeah. I think Dynamite Entertainment had the rights for a while. They were doing stuff. All right, so the creators,
I think, had a lot of those old, like, they were doing, I think that was the company that was doing, like, what was it? The, The $1 Million Man, and Bionic Woman and stuff like that. They had a lot of those old kind of properties.
Pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would prefer if they called their company Dynamite. Like,
of course.
Jimmy J.J. Walker. Dynamite. Yeah. So the creators for this book are Andrew Helfer. He's the writer. And Bill Sienkiewicz is the artist. Are you familiar with Andrew Helfer?
Not at all.
Yeah, I'd never heard his name before in my life. He did some stuff with DC. He was born in 1958. He joined DC Comics in 1981 as an assistant to Joe Orlando in the Special Projects Department. I wonder what those were. Yeah.
Yeah.
That like black projects.
Teaching monkeys how to smoke.
Yeah, that kind of stuff, yeah.
Yep.
He became the editor of the Justice League of America in 1985. Here's something you might want to check out, Jack. He wrote Atari Force.
Ooh.
Issues 8, cool. 12, 15 through 17, and 20 from 1984 to 85. I never knew there was a comic book, Atari Force.
Me neither, but it makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
There were definitely cartoon shows about, like, Nintendo, so. Captain N and stuff.
In 1986, he did Dead Man, Volume 2, Issues 1 through 4. I actually like the Dead Man. When Mike Ell and I read the Dead Man stuff, I'm like, I kind of like Dead Man.
I've never really read much of him, but he seems interesting.
Yeah, he seems pretty cool to me. He wrote all 19 issues of this Shadow series. All 19 issues. Then he did in 2005 to 2006, he did Batman Journey into Night, and Night is spelled with a K. And he did issues 1 through 12 of that. I'm sure Mike Ell would know what that is, but I don't know what that is.
I don't know that one. That was 2006, you said? So that was, he didn't do anything in those intervening years?
Well, in those intervening years, in 1993, he founded the Paradox Press imprint at DC.
Oh.
And he oversaw the production and the development of Max Allan Collins' series Road to Perdition and John Wagner's A History of Violence, which both became movies.
Yeah, those both became movies, yeah.
So, yeah, he was doing, like, Paradox Press stuff in those years in between. But, yeah, so Andrew
busy.
Helfer. And, of course, the artist is Bill Sienkiewicz, one of our favorites, at least my favorite. I don't know how you feel about him.
Oh, yeah, love him.
He drew the first 6 issues of The Shadow.
Yeah.
He also did the cover.
So I wanted to pick one of those. because I'm sure it's just downhill after he leaves.
And we've talked about Bill Sienkiewicz many times on the show. I know, I think issue 3 maybe of this here very podcast, we did a Moon Knight issue where Bill Sienkiewicz, and we did.
I don't think it was that early, but yeah, you definitely.
It was pretty early. Yeah, it was one of my first picks.
Yeah.
Didn't
you guys do one of the New Mutants where they met Cloak and Dagger?
Yes.
Yeah.
I can't remember if he did the book or if he just did the cover.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, maybe he had a guest artist that month.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
He's like, I ain't drawing Cloak and Dagger. Fuck this.
Yeah, because I actually don't know if I ever. Maybe he did. I'd have to look back and see if he did that one. Because when I think of Bill Sienkiewicz and New Mutants, I always think of like Moon. What's her name? Danny Moonstar.
Oh yeah, Danny Moonstar, the Demon Bear.
Yeah, but I've never read it. But like those images are so iconic of the bear.
Yeah,
yeah,
bear was so good.
The only Sienkiewicz I read in the New Mutants, went back and read a little bit of Legion, some of the Legion.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
But anyway, Bill Sienkiewicz, probably if I had a top 11 favorite artist, he'd be there in the bottom there, towards the bottom, 10, 11, somewhere in there.
Yeah, he's very good. I would hate it if all comics were him.
Yes,
it would be terrible. But as a once in a while thing, it's a nice treat.
I agree with that. Yeah. After like that Elektra miniseries, after a while, it kind of got on my nerves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I just want to know what's happening. Can you do that?
Yes. We'll talk about that in a minute. All right. So let's get to the book. The Shadow. Why don't you describe the cover for us there, Jack?
We got a fancy looking cover here. It's mostly black. We got the DC logo up in the corner with like a kind of purple box going around everything. And it just says Helfer and Sienkiewicz. And it lists everybody else's name, or it just says number 3 and suggested for mature readers.
Yeah.
So you gotta, yeah. They're not lying about that.
God bless the poor child that stumbled into this one.
I can't imagine in like 87, a lot of kids were like, man, you know who I love? The Shadow.
Yeah.
This guy from like the 30s. We got the Shadow there, and then he's basically, looks like the back of a subway train, and the Shadow is kind of standing there in the doorway, just blazing his guns away, shooting bullets in every direction.
Yeah, we mentioned he had Colt 45s in the Pulp stories. For the modern take, he's got like Uzis.
Yeah.
So
Colt 45s are for Lando.
So he's opening up fire right at the camera there, and you get the train car's lights. And this is a fully painted cover by Bill Sienkiewicz, like he usually does.
Yeah, I wish the book was like that. Unfortunately, it's not.
Yeah, it's a great cover though. Well, it's maybe not a great cover, but it's a very distinctive cover. The color of the gun flares is tremendous.
Yeah.
Like the yellows and oranges and
even
greens.
Like red and the green and yep, those are nice.
Yeah, it's a great cover in terms of coloring and it'll get your attention. But, it's not exactly the most exciting thing going on or whatever, but whatever. What can you do?
Yeah, I would say of the first 6 issues, the first one probably has the best looking cover. It's more just like a close up of his face and the scarf and everything, but this is cool. I like it. It's impressionistic.
Yeah. So we open up the book and we don't get a traditional splash page. We get, there's some sort of, did you read that stuff at the first beginning? Meanwhile.
Yeah, I looked through it. It wasn't really, I was hoping it was going to be like telling us where we are in this Shadow story, but no, it's just about like, Dick Giordano's life and shit like that.
Yeah.
I don't care.
He was talking something about movies, and I guess The Dark Knight won some award or whatever, but yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was pimping out The Dark Knight Returns. And like, The Watchmen's going to be out in trade paperback soon. Make sure you buy it.
Yeah, because we just stole the idea from Squadron Supreme. Wait till you get a load of it. It's going to be awesome. All right. But anyway. So not a traditional splash page. We get like a establishing shot outside of a tall building, I guess, in New York City. Mm-hmm. And Nisetco. That's the name of the company. The Nisetco building. And then we see people going about their business on the street. There's a guy walking, listening to music. There's a fella riding a bicycle. There's 3 ladies walking down the street listening to
Everybody's
music.
got their headphones on. The music apparently is a big important piece here.
Yeah. And then in the bottom 3 panels, they all seem to be going loopy.
Yeah.
And,
one guy, just one eye goes loopy. The other eye's fine.
Like they look at the camera and they're screaming like, what's going on? And then what happens, Jack?
They just go fucking nuts and they start going apeshit on everyone who's around him. The old man who's kind of listening to his headphones, he just starts taking his umbrella and he's about to hit this old lady and he pushes her through a window, like a plate glass window, and just starts beating the shit out of her with his umbrella, like he's the Penguin or something like that. The guy on the bike, he just like starts pedaling like mad right at a truck. Kind of like the end of Sons of Anarchy, only this was a bike, not a motorcycle.
I'll take your word for it. I don't know.
Yeah, spoiler alert for Sons of Anarchy. I just rewatched it.
Wow.
And then the girl with the headphones who's walking with her friends, she just says, "Yes, you're the boss," and jumps in front of a truck. It might be the same truck. Like I think he swerved once he hit that guy on the bike, and then just like, well, now I'm plowing into somebody else.
Because you can see the bicycle wheel is on the bumper.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Same truck.
Yeah, they're just throwing themselves in front of trucks. And then we get a scene of a mysterious man with long, pointy fingernails watching from above saying, "Remarkable, is it not? Albert was a genius."
Yeah.
Dun, dun. And here's kind of the splash page where we get the title, Burning Apostles.
Burning Apostles. And I want to point out something else here. How did you feel about the word balloons and the lettering in this book?
They weren't great.
It annoyed the fuck out of me.
Yeah. The balloons are quite large and then the font is kind of small.
Yes. There's so much negative space around the letters. Like there's so much empty space. Yeah. Like it's just, what are we doing? It makes it look like they're whispering everything. You know, like.
That's true. Yeah.
I don't know what the idea was here, but it stunk. It was terrible.
Yeah, it's kind of bargain basement-y. Even the type of letters like looks kind of janky a little bit. Not to throw my own name on the bus, but
no offense to yourself. It's a little janky. I don't get what they were trying to do here. I don't like it.
Yeah, I don't know which one of these guys that was the letter. Carlin.
Yeah. I like it. I will say this. I did like what they did with the shadow when he spoke. Because he would be his word balloons would be squared off and also shadowed in red.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's a nice touch. I like that. But everyone else talking in this book annoyed the hell out of me.
Well, the things they were saying didn't help much either.
Yeah. We'll talk about that later as well. All right, so that's the setup. Now we cut Grover's Mill, New Jersey. And another establishing shot here. We see a little airplane, a little one-engine airplane there. And outside a shack. And then inside we get some people talking. Oh, yeah, that's a good description. Crop duster, yeah. And then inside we see some people talking. And what are they saying there, Jack?
Oh, boy. They're up to something. They're planning something. Apparently, the skinnier guy, he used to work for this Oriental, as the guy puts it. They have very strong Southern accents, so most of this was very painful to get through. But basically, he got fooled into working for this Asian gentleman, and now this big guy has kind of brought him into the fold, and they're going to get their revenge, and they're going to get his work back. By loading up some explosives into this little crop duster there.
Yes. And there's a mysterious fella who's kind of pulling the strings. And we don't get a good look at him, but you can tell his hair is all crazy. And his is a
pretty large hand. Yeah.
Yeah, he's kind of walking like a monkey.
Mm-hmm.
Gorilla or something.
Yeah.
So I got happy about that. I'm like, hey, maybe it's a monkey. But I don't know.
And by the end, I'm still not sure if it was or not.
So then we cut to a scene of an older couple walking in the streets of New York. And, man, look at all these word balloons and how annoying they are.
Yeah.
That is incredible.
They are just kind of littered all over the page.
I cannot believe how terrible this is. But anyway, So they have to go to some church, or it was a church. Now it's called Twilight. Did you understand anything that was happening here?
Yes. By the end, it was definitely one of those stories where it's like, there's a lot of subplots, a lot of stories, but it did kind of all come together by the end, and I was like, okay, I think I understand this, but
I guess
I guess one thing we didn't mention about the Shadow is that he's got like a whole network of people. Like anytime he saves somebody, he like recruits them essentially and is like, hey, you owe me your life, so I'm going to call on you from time to time and have you do things for me.
Yeah, I was very confused about all this because, again, my Shadow, that wasn't a thing. So,
see, that was a part of the movie, so I'm glad I watched the movie because I don't think I would have understood that without that.
Yeah, I think the movie took a lot from the pulp stories because I think in the pulp stories he had a network of agents as well later on.
Yeah.
And they all call him Master for some reason.
Yeah.
See, that's weird because right away when I hear people calling someone a master, that's usually like a villain, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it took me a while. I thought they were working for like the evil guy in the book, and then it took me a while. No, they're talking about the Shadow. You know?
It's just a kinky sex thing.
Yeah, so that was weird to me.
Yep.
And then apparently the Shadow adopted some 3 Asian fellas.
Yeah, that was weird.
And he refers to them as his kids. So this is all very fucking confusing to me.
Yeah. I definitely feel like we missed some stuff in the first couple issues, but
now, why were they playing music in this church? Or
I think it was just a gig.
So it's like a nightclub. But the fact that they're playing music has nothing to do with the music earlier that caused the people to go crazy?
No.
See, that was another thing that was a problem.
Oh, okay.
Because wouldn't that be seeming like, oh, well, because I'm coming into this.
That's probably because you thought they were working for that guy, because you thought that was their master, but their master is actually the Shadow. So
yeah, it was all very confusing to me.
Yeah.
And like when you set something up where like, we're recording this, and I made the mistake of not turning off the Penguin game when we're recording this.
Oh no.
They had a 3-1 lead going in the third period. I was telling Jank before the show that I was so happy. I just tweeted out a GIF of Shockma, our beloved Shockma, a baboon who just rampages through a building and murders people. And I said the Penguins had a 3-1 lead against the Islanders. The whole story of this season is that they can't protect third period leads and they choke. And I said, hey, they played a great first 2 periods. And I'm like, hey, this is your chance. Show that you're a good team. Close the damn door already, just once. And I was like, oh, this is a perfect time for a Shockma GIF. So I tweeted a GIF of Shockma running into the door. I was very proud of myself. I was very happy. So I just look over. They lost 4-3 in overtime.
Oh, God.
What the fuck?
Oops.
I'll tell you this right now. Shockma would murder this Penguin team so easily because they cannot shut a door to save their goddamn lives.
Well, if we get Shockma and Jack, the MV most valuable primate, on a team together, we almost got a team.
I fucking hate this Penguin team so much. They're the softest. I just cannot take them. All right.
Yeah, you got to stop watching. It's not healthy for you.
Getting back to the Shadow and the Master and the kids. So I also come into the Shadow story. Throughout history, there have been many stories of musical groups mind control with music. You know,
sure.
Like a lot of kids my age will know about the G.I. Joe. Cobra had this idea in one of the G.I. Joe cartoons. Control the youth with crazy music, you know. But me, being the old man that I am, I remember Get Smart and the Sacred Cows. And Larry Storch of F Troop fame was the Groovy Guru. And he had a group of the Sacred Cows, 3 dudes dressed up like cows. And they played psychedelic, 60s music. And the kids would go nuts and cause trouble, So Maxwell Smart had to go in and shut them down because he could shut a door. That Maxwell Smart,
That's right.
But so going into this story, I see it open up with people going crazy because they're listening to music. Then I see a group playing music in a church and people calling Master and they're going to check them out. I'm like, oh, well, these are the bad guys. You know?
Yeah, but it turns out nothing ever happens with that. It's just these other, other guys show up and, do things to themselves, but
Yeah.
that has nothing to do with what's going on stage.
But why the fuck are they playing music if the beginning of the issue we're seeing music's controlling people to do, and then you show people playing music, but they have nothing to do with that?
Yeah, I guess that's weird. Unless
That's
it's
very
thematic.
Weird.
Yeah.
That's
know.
It's not good.
Yeah.
It was all just a muddled
Trying
mess.
to be like poetry rhymes, but maybe not. It just got confusing more so than anything.
Because then there's a part, this old couple, apparently, like the guys playing the music, they're the sons of the Shadow, right? That he adopted those guys. And then they tell him, don't call us by our real name, we have stage names. It's all very confusing. But they know the old couple, And so the old couple's listening to this music, and they're like freaking out, like the art is showing that they're not enjoying it. So I'm like, oh, well, it's hurting their heads because they're going to start murdering people now or something. But no, it's just bad music, so they leave.
Yeah, they're just old, and this isn't their type of music. Although the old man is kind of liking it because he's like, this is the first music I've heard in a long time that I don't have to try really hard to hear. I'm like, I can relate, buddy. I can relate.
So anyway, let's put that behind us. So now we cut to a subway train, and this is basically the scene that we see on the cover. Tell us what happens in this scene, Jack.
Well, there's a gang of ruffians who seem to be based off of mice and men.
Yeah, because there's a big Lenny, a big dumb Lenny, and a smart guy. Yeah.
Yeah, they're all kind of dumb though. Even the one who's talking for Lenny is just kind of like, he doesn't talk very good either. He's like, no, not a light. You blind or what? I got one of them already. I mean, a match for my brother here. He say he like you, would like to take you on a date. He very shy, but I say break the ice. So what you say? Want to break the ice? Yeah, basically they're accosting this woman, and they want her to go out with Lenny here. And she's like, no, I'm married to a police officer. And they're like, yeah, bullshit. I don't see a ring. So they're going to cut her.
Yeah.
And some guy, some little penciling like guy tries to stick up for her, but they're like, well, now we're going to cut you instead. Anybody else got anything to say? And some guy who's like sitting there reading the paper, he pulls out a gun.
I didn't understand this either. What the fuck?
This is weird. I was like, oh, that's the Shadow, but no, it's not. It's just some guy.
Yeah, just some random guy. Pulls out a gun.
Pulls out a gun and shoots it off as he's being, punched in the face by Lenny, so he doesn't end up hitting anything.
Yeah. Like, not only does he carry a gun, but he's also terrible at using it. He's just, I'll just hold it here and let you punch me in the face before I pull the trigger. All right.
Yeah, good plan. And then they start looking in the corner. It looks like there's a bunch of clothes or possibly some kind of homeless bag man or a lady. And it looks like, the Shadow's hat and a scarf and big black coat. And you're like, uh-oh, here we go. They see a big ring on his finger and they're like, oh, we're going to cut his finger off and get that ring. Because clearly you can't just pull rings off. It's got to be easier to cut through all that bone.
Yeah, I was confused by this as well, though, because it's clearly that's the Shadow's ring,
Mm-hmm.
So it's a famous ring he had when he faked his death in Guatemala, and there's a tribe there, and they gave him this ring. It's a long story. So that's clearly the Shadow's hand he's holding, correct?
Yep, sure is. That's the Shadow.
So then that guy gets shot through the head, Hawk.
Mm-hmm.
Then behind the people who are looking, the Shadow appears.
I think the rest of them hadn't gone over to look. It was just the one, like those two guys were looking at the Shadow, but the other guys were still, grab assing or whatever in the other side of the car.
But they're talking about.
Yeah, they don't seem to recognize that this guy got shot like that. You'd think they would notice.
All right, so you're saying he got shot in the head, fell back. They turn around and say, "Hey, our buddy." They're looking at their buddy.
It looks like a third eye. They can't figure out how he died. Yeah, that's weird.
The story. We'll talk about the storytelling in this book later, but I don't know. It could have been done much cleaner than this,
Yeah, that's for sure.
So, because it looks like the Shadow shoots the guy, they see the shot, and then they still the shadow appears behind them. But I guess they didn't see him get shot.
I guess maybe the shadow didn't really move. He just had maybe the guns pointed through his, big coat. And they're like, well, what happened? Maybe he's got I don't know. Yeah. You think they would hear the gunshot if nothing else.
Yeah. All right. So then the shadow just stands up and guns them down with his Uzis.
Yeah.
And he's murdering them. And then there's a guy who thinks he's hiding, but then the shadow grabs him by the lip and throws him into a wall.
Looks like he's throws him through the window, maybe into a garbage chute on the train. I don't know.
Yeah, does he go through? Or does he just hit it? I don't know.
Yeah, maybe he just smashes his head through the window.
Then there's another fella who holds up a knife, but you can't see the knife because of the way things are colored.
Yeah, the coloring in this issue was not good.
Yeah, it's too dark. He says, "Yeah, get away back or I'll cut." But the shadow just shoots off his arm.
Yeah, just obliterates it.
And then the shadow reaches up and he pulls down a vent to expose like a ventilation fan. And this is the part you paid your money for, Jack.
That's right.
Final period.
The weed of crime bears bitter fruit. And he holds the guy up and he's like, oh, he's going to shove his head into this spinning fan. But no, he just kind of cuts off the little poof on top of his hat, his winter hat.
Yeah, his beanie cap.
Yeah. And he's like, tell your friends. This is basically like that first scene in, 89 Batman movie where he's just like, tell everyone about me. And he's like, who are you? I'm Batman.
I'm the Shadow.
Yeah.
All right, so now we cut to another office building establishing shot, and some weird-looking dude, although it's just the way Sienkiewicz is drawing him. I don't know if he's supposed to be weird-looking, but
yeah.
He's sitting there talking to a therapist, but this therapist lady and him are all fellow agents of the Shadow.
Mm-hmm.
And what are they saying here, Jack?
Let's see. They're talking about a conspiracy. Group of masked gunmen break into my San Francisco health spa, murder a group of clients, and leave bloody messages on the wall. That must have happened in a previous issue.
Yeah. All right. He thinks that people are hunting them down, right?
Yes.
I think that's what he said. All right.
Yeah. And then they're talking about the incident that happened this morning with the music and everyone going crazy. And they're like, these things might be connected, but there might be some bigger conspiracy going on here.
Hey, maybe
the Shadow comes in.
Maybe they're connected to your sons there playing that terrible music in the church. Oh, no, they're not, because even though there's two things of music, they're not connected at all. So don't fall for that, Shadow. Don't fall for that. But yeah, the Shadow's here in Sienkiewicz. Again, if you're unfamiliar with Bill Sienkiewicz's style, very angular, sharp lines.
Yes.
Big angles and everything. So I think it works for the Shadow, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. With that darker, he's very heavy on the inks. So, yeah, it works very well for the Shadow.
So the fella there, he says, hey, let me check you out here because he's a physician, I guess. And you've got to heal you up. And here the Shadow he takes off his cloak and his hat and everything. And he's got a big red tattoo on his chest like a dragon.
Oh.
That. I also have one of those. Big red tattoo on his chest. But it's a chimp.
It's a Shockma, yeah.
So he says, hey, you have a separated shoulder. And he puts the shoulder back in place.
Yeah. He's like, this has been separated for 24 hours. I don't know how you could tell.
Yeah, I have no idea how he could tell that. Yeah, I also made note of that. You can't do that. You don't know how long it's been. That's
yeah. It's like a coroner thing where you can tell by the liver temp.
Even Quincy couldn't tell that.
Yeah. Even if he was on his houseboat.
But the Shadow's I can control men's minds and I can control my own as well. So I just blocked out the pain.
Give him the old pain don't hurt from Roadhouse.
And we get his face in a very deep shadow here. I actually, when I first looked at this panel, I didn't like the way I panned the page. It took me a while to break down what I was looking at in that panel. Because I didn't have the dialogue block. And I was looking at it and I was like, what am I looking at? Oh, wait, that's his face. Oh, yeah. It's one of the magic paintings.
It's colored very strange. It's red. It's very 80s looking, kind of pink and blue.
So then the therapist lady, and they're trying to track down some people or something, a Taiwanese outfit. Oh yeah, because they said that the incident with the music, it happened outside the Nisetco company, the corporation. And so they said, hey, let's look up Nisetco, and it's a Taiwanese outfit with interest in everything electronic, from portable radios to mainframe computers. Even had some kind of think tank out in Silicon Valley. And so she's calling up. Its
entire membership got canceled at the doctor's spa. So that's kind of the link. Like, yeah, both of these incidents seem to have something to do with this Nisetco.
And he says, there's a message left in blood. What did it say? The king is dead. Long live the prince. Was the message.
They want more bat dance.
Yeah. So they're going to go check in on Nisetco. But now we cut to another one of Shadow's agents. This guy has quite the payroll.
Yeah.
Shadow.
It's an interesting thing. Like, you don't see that a lot with superheroes, but at the same time, it's also kind of, terrible to read because you're just like, who are all these people?
Yeah. A lot of characters.
Yeah.
We've already met, if you count the kids, 8? 8 different agents?
Yeah. Yeah, for one issue. That's quite a lot to remember.
Yes. And this is a goofy looking fella, and he's hanging out in the soup kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
And why is he hanging out in the soup kitchen exactly?
I think he's supposed to be on mission, but I think he's just there actually to get food. Like,
he just like soup, right?
Yeah.
But while he's there, there's some new church handing out booklets to people, Mm-hmm. A new day dawning, see the light. This is not the new day with Xavier Woods, Kofi Kingston, and Big E Langston. This is a different new day. And so he's like, these religious folks. And he walks in and he sees a preacher guy doing his business. And we see all this light and everything's in yellow. And look at that. Is there a message? Do we ever hear a message that this preacher's giving?
I
think, right?
Basically, the beast is coming and we got to kill everyone who follows the beast. It is they who serve the darkness. We will serve the light.
Yes.
I don't know if they're talking about the shadow or if they're talking about like an actual beast, like the devil.
And then he says, go and do the light's will. So all these worshipers leave the church, and the Shadow's agent guy, I don't even know his name, he says, hey, I'm going to follow those guys, see what they're doing, I'm going to check out what they're doing. Now we come back to the crop duster.
Yeah.
And we see a guy getting all mad. He's like, no, I don't want to do it. And they put him in a chair, and some evil doctor with a Van Dyke beard and crazy glasses, they mind control him, right?
Yeah.
They're going to, this is he doesn't even work with the CIA or the Israeli Mossad, yet he still somehow gets this guy to fly a plane into a building. You connect the dots on that however you want. All right. But, so this guy's going to fly that crop duster into, which building is it? Is it the Nisetco or who's?
Yeah, it turns out it's Nisetco. I don't think they mention it yet. I guess that's supposed to be a big reveal later on. For a lot of this issue, these scenes just kept reminding me of especially because they have those southern accents, it reminded me a lot of Malibu Express, where there's just those random scenes where he had to race some hillbilly family for some reason. It's what is the point of these scenes?
So then we cut back to that church where they're still playing music.
Yep. Yeah, they're singing a song about the Shadow. I think it's called Shadow's Rage. I think the band is called Shadow's Rage, so they really are just relying on the Shadow here.
And again, it has nothing to do with mind control. Nothing to do with mind control.
These are the good guys.
Now the coloring here is interesting. It's all rainbow. Whenever there's club, there's always rainbow colors and everything.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Pretty cool.
Now, so that old couple leave the place because the music's so terrible. And as they're leaving, they see all these worshipers from that church all dressed in white, kind of like the leftovers.
Yeah. Oh, very much so, yeah.
What were they called? I can't even remember.
Remember they didn't talk. Was that part of it?
Yeah, I can't remember. All right, but anyway, so the guy who was an agent at the soup kitchen, he sees the older couple because they're also agents, and he says, "Oh, you're on this case too?" And they're like, "No, I don't know what you're talking about." So
they make repeated mentions over and over about how these people smell. They smell so bad.
They smell like gasoline.
Yeah.
That's a tip. So what happens, Jake?
Well, the agent from the soup kitchen is like, yeah, I was following these guys, and then they just kind of stopped in the street and started pouring gasoline on themselves. And they're like, yeah, that's probably not good. And so they go into the concert there, and a lot of the people in the audience are dressed like the Shadow. Apparently, because this band is the Shadow's Rage or whatever.
I was confused by that as well.
Yeah.
I was like, are these all Shadow agents? Like I had.
Yeah, this is apparently a concert where instead of wearing like a band shirt, you're just dressed up like the Shadow. It's like cosplay concerts, I guess. So all these people are dressed like the Shadow, and all these guys in white come in and form a circle around them, basically put them in the middle of a circle pit, and then light themselves on fire.
Yeah.
And just kind of stand there. Like, they don't really try to, like, encroach on these, Shadow guys. They're just kind of like, yep, we're here, and we're burning to death. But then the actual Shadow shows up, and just starts mowing people down as he does with his Uzis.
I don't understand what was
If
happening.
things are on fire, you gotta just shoot them out.
So, yeah, did he just murder everybody in the thing? I don't know.
I think he murdered all the guys in white who were already dead anyway. They're on fire.
But weren't the guys in white surrounding a bunch of other people?
Yeah. They had the concert goers were in the middle of the circle.
So the people in the middle of the circle, I mean, they got gunned down by the Shadow?
Maybe he's that good that he can miss.
I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Also, there's a hovercraft at some point. There's a hover car.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Like,
yeah, that was weird.
Yeah,
they're going to burn rubber, quote unquote, even though it's a hover car.
Yeah.
That's the joke.
So then we cut back to the crop duster situation. And we see that guy who could have been a monkey, but I don't know what he is. But he's dressed in a suit.
Yeah.
He's a real deformed looking fella. And he's talking to some guy. He's giving McDonald's. And he's like, oh, look at that crop duster. It's coming right at us or something. I don't know. What the fuck is happening?
Yeah. Yep. And he's telling them, oh, we got some big plans for you. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with this guy. Like, he's very weird looking. His skin is like dark gray, like elephant gray. It's very strange. His forehead like goes back in like a weird point.
Yeah.
Chin kind of does too in a weird way where it's like, what's going on here?
Now we cut back to the church or the club or whatever the fuck it was that burned down.
Mm-hmm.
And who's investigating this? Is this just the cops or who?
Yeah, this I assumed was the actual cops. It didn't seem like these were agents of the Shadow. I thought these were actual cops. The one guy claims, whenever he gets a case of the rheumatiz, like he can tell that a clue is coming, and he's gonna find a big clue, and he's getting it now. So he's like, oh, this is gonna be it. But instead, he starts himself on fire.
Yeah, I was very confused. I don't know what the fuck's happening.
Very weird.
Like, he puts his cane in the ashes and it catches on fire, and he says fire, and then he collapses to the ground. But I guess it's just the rheumatism making his back tighten up, and he fell to the ground.
Yeah.
And then we see the airplane coming in, and the goofy-looking guy, the monkey guy, and his fella, the evil doctor guy, are controlling the plane. Again, connect whatever dots you want. And it flies right into a building. Boom.
Yep.
And that is the Nisetco building.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because then we see the mysterious guy in the building is just like, there's been an attack, sir. The New York office. The networks are covering the crash right now. Billing is checking out the terrorist angle. Perhaps we should abort or delay.
Yeah. And I don't know, who's this guy now we see in a chair, the Shadow? That's the guy from is that the guy from the soup kitchen?
Yeah, I think it's that guy. Okay. He's watching his little, handheld TV.
Talking about the news and the plane crash, right?
Yep. But then it cuts commercial.
Yeah, explain this commercial.
Yeah, this was weird. Well, there was a line I'm sure you liked because it was like, "Are you a soap fan too?"
Yeah, soap, the TV show. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think he was talking about soap operas.
In general, yeah, he was.
Yeah. But it cuts to a commercial, and the Shadow's just like, "Wait a minute, I know that voice." And it's like an American Express commercial. And turns out it's his old arch enemy. What's his name? Shiwan Khan?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Shiwan Khan. He's a descendant of Genghis Khan.
Yep.
Khan.
The last descendant of Genghis Khan. He was also in the movie.
Oh, I did not know
much
that.
younger there.
So yeah, the Shadow is seeing his arch enemy, this evil guy, doing American Express commercials on TV now.
Yeah.
Because he's apparently a corporate bigwig and a businessman now. He wears a suit, but he still looks like Genghis Khan, like that kind of mustache and beard and crazy hair and eyebrows.
Yep. Kind of like, the Mandarin or something like that.
And he has very big fingernails and everything. I guess evil Fu Manchu. Fu Manchu would be like the...
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. But, so there it is. That's the Shadow. That's how it ends. And then next issue, Balance of Power is the title. Then we get an advertisement for a book called Slash Maraud.
Yeah.
I never heard of this. But
I never have either, but it looks pretty good.
Yeah, there's a lady in a bikini and a swing, and there's all kind of partying going on, and the catch line is, let's party. Everybody on Earth dies in 5 years. Yeah. Let's party.
That sounds like
Isn't that what everyone assumes anyway? Am I the only person that thinks that way? I assume that I have today and nothing else. Yet it seems like everyone just
you don't party at all.
They're going to live for 5 years. Yeah, I don't, because I just want to be left the fuck alone. But it seems like everyone, let's make 5-year plans. Why? Because you're probably dead in 5 years. But, yes, everyone, wouldn't it be better if like everybody on Earth dies in 5 days? I don't know, 5 years.
You're like, what would I do with the rest of those years? Yeah.
5 years is
all I want
long.
to do is sit here. Like, I can do that in 5 days. Yeah, I think most people probably have things they want to do in those 5 years.
I'm just not wired.
Like us.
I'm not wired properly. All right, then the next advertisement is Gem World.
Yeah, your favorite book.
Is this what it is, though? I think it might be something different, though, right? It's an updated version of it, I guess. Because, look, they're showing like a naked lady, basically.
Yeah, but she's like gem, so it doesn't count. She's made of diamond.
Experience Amethyst's amazing rebirth. All right, so I guess this is like an upper for adults. So maybe Mike Gale can read it, pick it up again and read it.
Yeah. Well, didn't she end up getting like
almost raped 3 times?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a book for kids. She almost gets raped like 3 times. All right. Then DC, they're also hitting this promotion: buy 3 and get 1 free. If you subscribe to 3 DC books in the mail, you can get 1 for free. But it's just, I love it because they give you a list of the books you can get and how much each book's cost. And then if you look down on the end, there's a little box you got to fill out, like with the rows and columns. You got to say, I want this book for this price for this long. Man, this was the world was such a simpler place before the internets and online stuff.
Yeah.
That was someone's job to go through all that mail and to read that shit. Like, this kid wants this. I got to write this down.
Yep. Man. I actually did subscribe to, I think, one of the X-Men books back in the 90s.
I had a subscription to the X-Men as well.
Yeah.
And, but then, because it was cool just to get stuff in the mail. You know, it was nice getting it in the mail.
I loved it.
But the bad side is usually the mailman would fold it up.
No.
Yeah. So I would come with a nice crease down the middle.
Oh, I would kick that mailman right in the crotch.
Yeah, I wasn't so happy about it, but what could you do? All right. Then there's another ad for Outcasts.
Mm-hmm. Don't know what that is.
2049 AD. You want to know what they're going to do to you if you're a little different? Outcasts.
Don't get a crowbar with a flashlight on it.
Camelot 3000 reference. You're a fan of the show. You listen to Flea Market Fantasy.
That's right.
Then there's another ad for buy 3 and get 1 free, but the other one had the Teen Titans featured. This one just has Superman. So I guess they're appealing to both audiences, like the young kids and the old people still read comic books. Here we go.
Yeah, these are the more expensive books, it looks like. The other ones were like, you could have Blue Beetle.
No, I think these are the cheaper books, right? Because these are, I think the other one.
For...
Yeah, because the other ones were $18, $15 or $21. Right. Those are like the prestige books. Now these are the cheap books, $9.
These are the ones people want, though. They got Sergeant Rock. Who doesn't want that?
Captain Atom. Star Trek, the Doom Patrol. We've never read the Doom Patrol on this show.
Oh, I'll have to do that someday.
So there you go. That's the Shadow. I think that's all. Oh, there's
you
another
went for
ad.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was not happy about this at all when I saw this.
Oh, because he's wearing a shirt.
I didn't like this because it's Doc Savage. He's not who you think he is. Because we see this guy, he's got like a mullet, like a pony, a rat, one of them rat tails in the back. And he's wearing blue jeans, and he's got his feet up on a desk, and he's holding a gun, and the gun is smoking.
Mm-hmm.
And his shoelaces are untied. First of all, Doc Savage would never have untied shoelaces. He was very meticulous about such things.
Oh, they're just long, maybe.
But I do not like this at all. We do not need Doc Savage, given the Dark Knight reboot, into being a guy with guns and yelling and,
It's got art by both of the Kubert brothers.
That's right. Yeah, I did see that. Yeah, Denny O'Neil wrote it.
Yeah, that might be good. I don't know.
I don't want to see them ruin Doc Savage.
Well, you might have to one day.
Uh-oh. So there it is, the Shadow issue 3 from 1987. All right, Jank, what do you think of we'll start with the writing of Andrew Helfer, or what's his name, Helfer?
Yeah, Helfer. It was rough. The dialogue was never great, and I was very confused throughout most of this, but I will give it some credit for, by the end, pulling it together in a way that did make some sense.
Did it?
It did to me for the most part. Like, it did have a lot of different threads, but for the most part, they did all come together. Like, there were different agents, but they all kind of ended up at that club, and the Twilight Club, and so it all kind of came together. And even that's the interludes with those guys in the crop duster, at least kind of paid off. I'm sure it's just setting up for more things later on, but they did at least deliver. Like, okay, the crop duster crashed and blew up.
I guess it's not fair. We're joining issue 3. I'm sure they probably set this stuff up.
It's a 6-part story.
Like, why did those religious people go to that club?
Yeah.
Like, because
I don't know.
Do they know that club's affiliated with the Shadow and they're waging a war on the Shadow?
Yeah, it's just part of the nature of the decompressed storytelling that they started to do by the late 80s and have only gotten more so these days, where you're not going to get a complete story in one issue anymore.
Yeah. Like, if you just jump in here with this issue, this is a mess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, the music thing, why? I don't know. Yeah,
I can see what you're saying. I think that was confusing to you, especially because you didn't know who they were working for at first.
Yeah.
So it kind of sent you down the wrong path a little bit.
Like, just the Shadow himself, I found him entirely unlikable.
Yeah. That's fair.
Like, even just the way he talked, the way he dealt with his agents, the way he treated, like, it just seemed like he was an asshole.
Yeah, he just seemed to like to murder, and that was about it. I just like shooting people. That's really all I'm here for. Not to get to know you guys.
Yeah, so that would beg the question, why are these people his agents?
Yeah.
Like, if he's not endearing or in any way likable. Or is he intimidating them into being his agents?
Could be.
I don't know. I didn't like it.
This guy's MO.
I didn't like any of this. I just didn't like it at all. I don't know.
I mean, the old people seemed nice enough. They seemed like all right people.
It just seemed like this was a problem in comic books at this time, because again, Dark Knight just came out and this gritty, violent thing. It just seemed like this was being edgy for the sake of being edgy, having people set themselves on fire, all the gun murdering people left and right and everything.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like, I guess if I was 13, I'd find this, oh my God, this is so cool, but I'm not 13.
Yeah. If you were 13 in the 80s, and you were reading this, this would have been amazing.
But as an old man who likes cats, I don't like this.
Doesn't like to party, even if there's only 5 years left.
Yeah, that's 5 years of naps. I had 5 years left. So I'm not a fan of this. All right, Bill Sienkiewicz, again, a huge fan of Bill Sienkiewicz, but I didn't like this at all. I didn't like this.
This did not have his typical style. Like it had the weird angles and the kind of abstract type things, but the inking and the coloring really didn't do him a lot of favors.
style is great to have a distinctive style until it's noticeable and it gets in the way of the story. Then it's not great. And there were so many points in this issue where I couldn't tell what the fuck was happening from panel to panel, like storytelling. Were you confused at any point? It seemed like the panels were all very busy. There was so much going on in the panels, and it was just too much. It detracted, the art detracted from the story. And that's never what you want. That's never what you want. So, again, I'm a huge Sienkiewicz fan, but not here. I really had trouble reading this. This was not pleasant to read. I don't know.
Certain things, like when we first see that crop duster, like, it's so weird looking, like just a little shanty town and all the weird colors, and I don't know, it's kind of off-putting.
And does everybody have to be drawn weird?
Right.
Can't we just get a normal-looking human once or twice? Like their faces are all distorted and mangled, and
I guess the therapist lady kind of looks normal.
She did kind of look normal, yes.
She's probably the closest thing to normal.
Everyone else in this book was just a horror show. So can't we just get a normal human? Oh.
Hey, you got to be gritty.
I guess. I hated this. I did not like this at all. I don't know.
Yeah, I got to say it was not a fun read.
No, it was not pleasant.
It was just kind of, I was waiting for it to end more so than anything.
Yeah, if you're listening to this and you're a 13-year-old child in 1987, you're going to love this. But if you do not have access to a time machine, don't read this. So I can't go higher than 2 out of 10.
Yeah, I think I'll give it a little bit more and just go 3. But that's being generous.
Yeah, I gave it a 2 because I like the cover. The coloring on the cover is tremendous.
Yeah, the more painted look on the cover is great. I wish the interiors had been kind of like that.
So yeah, the shadow. Oof, it bared bitter fruit.
The shadow knows this sucks.
Not a fan. All right. So next week, I believe last week on the show, I was saying we got to do some more Marvel team-ups, you know?
Oh, sure.
So we're going to go Marvel Team-Up Annual Issue 4 from 1981. All right. So Annual 4 from 1981. It features Spider-Man, Moon Knight, Iron Fist, Power Man, and Daredevil.
Ooh.
They are fighting
street heroes.
I know, that's why I love it. They are fighting Purple Man.
Oh.
And someone named Heinrich von Schnickelschnapp.
What?
I have no idea. I went to the Wikipedia page.
Way.
Yeah, I went to the Wikipedia page for Marvel Team Up, and they list like who's featured in each issue. And I was just panning down looking for something interesting, you know, who can we pick? And I saw all those heroes in the annual, and I'm like, oh, this is pretty good. But I saw Heinrich von Schnickelschnapp. We're reading it.
I mean, I wish they would have abandoned the Spider-Man angle from Marvel Team Up after that and just had, you know, Baron von Schnickenschnapp every month teams up with somebody else.
Schnickelschnapp. What? I have no idea who this is. I didn't look him up. We'll save it for next week.
Yeah, he's my new favorite character.
I was kind of like, what was that one Mike Ellen and I did, Mr. Miracle, Werner von Blimp or whatever? Remember that guy, the villain on that Mr. Miracle? Heinrich von Schnickelschnapp. The writer here, the cover is drawn by Frank Miller, and he is the writer of this issue.
All right.
The artist, though, is Herb Trimpe.
Okay. No, not the best.
No.
But, yeah. But I'm hoping the story will save it.
Frank Miller, right? And it's an annual, so I think it's like 32 pages. It's a little longer. So, but yeah, it has like most of my favorite heroes. Purple Man and Heinrich von Schnickelschnapp. So,
I mean, that does seem like they should be going after the Kingpin or somebody like that, but.
Oh, the Kingpin's in this as well.
Von Schnickenschnapp. That's pretty good too.
The Kingpin's in it as well. Yeah.
Sweet.
So, there's a lot going on in this issue. A lot going on.
Man, yeah, that's a lot of heroes. I like it.
I know.
Bang for your buck with that one.
Pretty fucking awesome. So that's next week on the show. Also, I need to make a note here that I did not put up a YouTube video for the Tiger episode because I'm still having people who listen to the LCS Hockey Show will know this, but I'm having computer issues at the moment. And the computer I use to do all the graphics and everything, that computer kind of died on me. Mm-hmm. So I was able to work out the audio stuff, but I still don't have here's the thing, Jack. Here's what happened. My graphics program on that Microsoft Surface tablet, it's called Clip Studio Paint, and I've had it for many years, and I bought the license years ago. And so when it died, I had to reinstall Windows on that computer. So the computer's operating again, but all the programs got wiped out, and I had to reinstall everything that I need. So I go to reinstall Clip Studio Paint. The company that used to be in charge of such things, they gave it to a different company.
Oh, no.
Yes.
You want your new activation code.
I'm guessing that's what I'm going to have to buy it again. But maybe if I email them and say, hey, maybe they'll let the old license, because I still have the, whatever. So maybe that'll work. But I doubt it. I did not, because I'm very busy. And I didn't feel like sending that email. So eventually I'm going to send that email. Because the other option is to transfer all because I also have an iPad that I can draw on sometimes, but I don't have the program I have over there to draw. I really doesn't do all the stuff that Clip Studio Paint does. So I'd like to have Clip Studio Paint on the Apple, which I could get, but I'd have to pay for it over there. But the program I use to make the audio or the video is on my laptop now, and my headphones and the audio stuff doesn't work with the iPad Pro. See, I'm in a real pretzel here. So I'm trying to figure out. So I guess I would like to get everything on one again, because the Microsoft Surface, I did everything through that. Now I got some stuff on the laptop, some stuff on the iPad. It's a real pain in the ass.
Yeah, transfer stuff back and forth.
And I can't do the art, the digital, the graphic stuff on my laptop, because it's a cheap little laptop just for writing and editing. So it's a big pain in the ass. So I don't know what I'm doing, and I haven't decided yet. So no YouTube video for Tigra, probably no YouTube video for Shadow. Maybe someday I'll make them, but they're not going to be out there right now. So I'll get it straightened out. At the moment, I'm very busy doing an audiobook for somebody. So once this is done, I'll have more time and I'll get it figured out. All right?
Yeah,
but at the moment, don't look for YouTube.
Make do with the audio.
Yeah. So anyway, next week, Marvel Team Up Annual number 4 from 1981 with Heinrich von Schnickelschnapp. And I'm very excited about that. Until then, don't get any jank on you.
The weed of crime bears bitter fruit. Crime